Good afternoon. This meeting is called to order. For the record, the time is 1:32 p.m. The date is Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. The commission and its staff are appearing from Helena, Montana in the Bollinger Room of the Montana Public Service Commission. I am Jennifer Fielder. I am the presiding chairman for this meeting. Would my commissioner colleagues and our staff and guests join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, for purposes of determining a quorum, commissioners present today include President Molnar, myself, Vice President Fielder, Commissioner Pinocci, Commissioner Bukacek, and just in the nick of time, Commissioner Wellborn. So we do have a quorum. Announcements, there are no changes to the agenda today, although there is something to note for those who may be interested in our schedule for this meeting. After the closed sessions today, which are identified on the calendar as work session 2 and 3, the commission will come back into this room for public session and possibly consider action regarding the selection process for our executive director position. And then we will announce the next business meeting and adjourn. But I will just give you a preview on the next business meeting now for those interested. There will be a schedule change next week. We won't hold it at our regular time. We will meet for commission business at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, January 28th. Okay, moving on now to public comment. The Public Service Commission welcomes any comment on any item that is on today's agenda or any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Montana Public Service Commission. Are there any public commenters in the room today? Seeing none. Are there any public commenters online? Seeing none. We will move on to approval of commission minutes for the week of January 13th. Do I hear a motion? President Molnar?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from the January 13th.
Is there a second? Okay. Commissioner Molnar has moved adoption of the minutes for the week of January 13th. Commissioner Pinocci has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed to the motion, say aye and say nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right, we will now move into work sessions. The first work session is a legislative commission initiated matter to discuss bills relevant to the PSC mission, statutory authority, administrative process, and general agency concerns. Discuss PSC budget requests or presentation, and consider staff analysis and recommendations, and provide direction on PSC response to bills. Mr. Graff.
Madam Vice President, Commissioners, hopeful this is a quick one today for you. Just wanted to take you through some previous actions since last Tuesday. Last night, House Bill 103, the rail inspection bill, passed 14-0 out of committee. It'll head to appropriations next after re-referral on the floor. Probably see that pop up next week in appropriations. House Bill 45, the Commission's telecommunications cleanup bill, passed second reading last night. Well, yesterday afternoon, 88-10. I would imagine it's probably already passing third reading as we speak today, so that'll move on to the Senate side. The Select Committee on Energy Resource Procurement and Acquisition bill that adjusted the IRP process and worked with an independent examiner at the independent evaluator, at the commission during the IRP process and resource procurement process passed yesterday as well, 74-24 on second reading. It's likely passing third reading as we speak today, and that'll move on to the Senate side.
Trevor, was there any amendment made to that regarding wasn't that the one where we asked for flexibility concerning full-time positions versus outside contractors?
Yes, so that amendment passed. It essentially took the statutory positions out and left the general appropriation in the bill for us.
So that flexibility that we wanted is built into it now?
Yep.
Excellent, thank you.
House Bill 122 was heard yesterday in House Energy. It is a bill that allows for the utility to site natural gas lines that are not common carriers or subscribed to pipelines in public right-of-ways. Didn't anticipate that to be such a robust discussion. It was. We got dragged in as an informational witness late in the hearing just to kind of describe the commission's role, where we start with pipelines and where we are not a permitter, so to speak, or an environmental regulator. They were looking for some clarity as to who does what, and we were there to provide that. Our last three agency bills have been through their hearing in the Senate. They may get executive action today at 3. I'll be headed there after this. And once those are passed out of committee, all of our legislative agenda at this point has been moved forward out of committees in the first house. A couple of things to highlight by way of new bills that have popped up since Tuesday with language. I want to start with House Bill 229. House Bill 229 is a bill to implement the Supreme Court's decision in Held versus the state of Montana. Before we get too far asunder here, I want to be very clear what this bill does and doesn't do. Really, all it's doing is striking the language that the court struck down in the Held decision. By way of recommendation from me, for what it's worth, I think it's a good idea for commission staff to be there and ready to explain the MEPA exclusion of the commission and just make sure that as that discussion is happening, it's not happening on a broad front that includes discussion of the commission's role in a case that categorically excluded the commission thanks to the statutory exclusion in MEPA of our actions here at the commission.
Okay, before you move on, is there any objection to having Mr. Graff appear as an informational witness then for House Bill 229 and make himself available as an agency expert? Seeing no objections, you are designated as an informational witness on House Bill 229. Mr. President.
Thank you. Trevor, in the things that were struck down, there was one statute that kept coming up in the discussions. I don't know where it wound up in the legal proceedings, which is that the PSC may not consider environmental externalities in our decisions. Is that still the law? Or did that get struck down as well?
So I want to be clear, the Held case didn't touch that exclusion. I think what you may be thinking of is the climate change petition that was brought to the commission. Separate issue. That is not what this bill does.
No, my concerns were at the district court level and Supreme Court level. They did not cross over to us and strike that at any level.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Trevor, continue, please.
Last new bill that actually was introduced this morning, or at least popped up on my tracking list this morning, and I know there is some commissioner interest in this bill, is House Bill 263. It's an act requiring the reporting of electricity use for certain energy users, those energy users being data centers. If you remember back to a couple of sessions ago, there was a bill regarding digital asset mining that set up a rate-making procedure for digital asset miners. This bill simply goes into that statute 69.3.332 and adds that on March 1st of every year, any data center or digital mining business operating in the state, excluding your home digital asset miners, shall report to the commission and ETIC the total megawatt hours of electricity consumed in the previous calendar year and the anticipated megawatt hours of electricity needed for the current calendar year. It requires the report to be filed with the commission and ETIC. It does not require us to do anything with it. The impetus for the bill is basically to get in public information that data regarding data center load in the state of Montana. You don't necessarily need to come up with a position today. It was just introduced, but I do know there's some interest and I wanted to bring it to you so you would at least have time to think about it. If you don't have a position today, I would anticipate them moving pretty quickly to hear this in the House because they don't have any bills at the moment. So with that, I think for now, I would leave it for your discussion and just note that the bill is brought by Katie Sullivan in the House, and remind you that from a commission standpoint, it doesn't require much by way of resources, given that the report is just housed here.
Any questions for Mr. Graff on that one? Commissioner Wilborn?
Thank you. Trevor, would you repeat that? It was entitled 63.3. What was the last piece of that?
So it's House Bill 263.
Right.
The statute is 69.3.332.
332.
Yep. And this is essentially just tacked on to the end of that code.
Thank you.
Well, seeing no questions or discussion, I think we'll designate Trevor as our informational witness on that for now. And if the commission wants to discuss taking a position, we can do that in the future. If there's no objections to that. Okay, Trevor, you are our informational witness on that one. Thank you.
Okay, those are the new two. Like I said, both House and Senate Energy Committees ran through the end of their folder already. There's a lot more to come, but they're kind of in a weird lull. So we do have a hearing this afternoon that I've been designated to monitor on the right of first refusal for the ownership of transmission. The bill repeals Northwestern's right of first refusal for ownership of transmission in its own balancing authority. Current stance from the commission is to go watch and see where that hearing goes. So I will do that as soon as I'm done here. The other we already mentioned is HB 229, which is the held case implementation. And that hearing is Friday at 3 in room 172. And for the most part, commissioners, that's what we have this week. Again, still doing some work surrounding the conversation of wildfire liability, that liability law bill. What I can tell you at this point is they are revising that somewhat. And I had conversations with those folks this week to the effect that they'll get us the bill this week and we can have a look at the new version. Other than that, we're still kind of in a holding pattern. There's a few bills that will shake loose this week, I think, regarding some solar energy policy. And a couple other stragglers, nothing that looks too large at the moment. I think the big bills are still in process and it'll probably take another 2 or 3 weeks to see those.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. Any questions for commissioners? Seeing none, thank you, and you can go on your way.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, that concludes the legislative work session. Members and guests, the next 2 work sessions are going to be closed work sessions, and then the commission will return to the Bollinger Room to come back into public session to possibly consider action regarding the personnel matter, and we'll adjourn the meeting. The next business meeting, as I announced earlier, will be at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, January 28th. So I'm going to announce the next two closed work sessions here. And then we will convene in the commission conference room. Do commissioners need a break between now and then? Do you want a few minutes or just go straight in? Staff, just go straight in. I think we'll just go straight in then after we recess here. So the next two work sessions, first will be litigation status update to provide an update on currently pending litigation and discuss litigation strategy. This work session is closed to the public. The presiding officer of any meeting may close the meeting or a segment of it during the time that discussion relates to a matter of litigation and or litigation strategy, and the presiding officer determines the need to protect agency litigation decision-making and discussion exceeds the merits of public disclosure. This closed session will involve discussions and decision-making related to ongoing litigation in which the agency is involved as a party. Accordingly, the chair hereby closes this section of the business meeting to the public. The third work session on a personnel matter will also be closed to the public. Presiding officer of any meeting may close the meeting during the time that the discussion relates to a matter of individual privacy, and then only if the presiding officer determines that the demands of individual privacy clearly exceed the merits of public disclosure. The coming closed session will involve discussion regarding internal personnel matters, including a discussion of the status of the vacant executive director position, candidates for filling the same, along with a discussion of the duties of that position. Consequently, I have determined that the privacy interests of the individuals who will be the subject of these discussions outweigh the merits of public disclosure. Accordingly, the chair hereby closes this section of the business meeting to the public. Again, the commission will reconvene in the Bollinger Room. After those discussions, I would anticipate it will probably be about 1 hour from now. And with that, we are finished with our public meetings and the meeting is now closed. We will reconvene in the commission conference room.